The most powerful woman in the room is not always the loudest. Sometimes she's the quiet one, the one observing, the one building, the one walking her path without announcing every step. And that's exactly why people underestimate her. See, a woman who has something to prove spends her energy convincing the world. But a woman who has nothing to prove, she spends her energy becoming the best version of herself. There's a difference. When you stop chasing approval, something changes inside you. You stop explaining your decisions. You stop arguing with people who misunderstand you. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop performing for an audience that was never going to applaud anyway. That's real freedom. Most people are trapped in a cycle of validation. They need likes, compliments, recognition, and acceptance to feel valuable. They need the world to tell them who they are. But a woman who has nothing to prove already knows who she is. She doesn't need a committee to approve her dreams. She doesn't need permission to walk into her purpose, and that's dangerous. Because when a woman stops seeking validation, she becomes impossible to control. Fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its voice. Criticism loses its power. She starts making decisions based on vision instead of opinions. People often mistake silence for weakness. They see a woman staying focused, staying calm, staying disciplined, and they assume she's not capable. They assume she doesn't have ambition. They assume she doesn't have strength. But what they don't see is the work happening behind the scenes. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the night she spent rebuilding herself. They don't see the pain she survived. They don't see the battles she fought when nobody was watching. Strength isn't always visible. Sometimes it's hidden in discipline. Sometimes it's hidden in patience. Sometimes it's hidden in the decision to keep moving forward when life gives you every reason to quit. Never underestimate a woman who has learned how to stand on her own. She's not waiting for someone to save her. She's not waiting for perfect conditions. She's not waiting for confidence to magically appear. She's building her future one decision at a time. And while others are talking, she's working. While others are complaining, she's improving. While others are doubting, she's preparing. That's why her success often surprises people. They only notice the result. They never see the process. The truth is, the strongest women aren't competing with anyone. They don't wake up trying to prove they're better than someone else. They wake up trying to be better than they were yesterday. Their competition is yesterday's version of themselves. Their focus is growth. Their mission is purpose. Their standard is excellence. And when your energy is focused on becoming instead of proving, your life begins to transform. There's something powerful about a woman who knows her worth, not because she's arrogant, not because she thinks she's above anyone, but because she understands that her value isn't determined by someone else's opinion. She knows rejection doesn't reduce her worth. She knows failure doesn't define her future. She knows criticism doesn't cancel her potential. She knows who she is. And when you know who you are, you stop negotiating your value. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop accepting disrespect. You stop abandoning your dreams to satisfy people who never believed in them. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You start living differently. Remember this, confidence isn't loud. Confidence doesn't need a microphone. Confidence doesn't need constant attention. Real confidence is built through action. It's built through consistency. It's built through keeping promises to yourself. The woman who has nothing to prove understands that. She doesn't need to announce her power because she carries it every day. She doesn't need to convince people she's capable because her results will eventually speak. She doesn't need to force respect because self-respect naturally commands it. Never underestimate that woman, because while everyone else is chasing attention, she's chasing purpose. While everyone else is seeking approval, she's building a legacy. While everyone else is trying to prove something, she's becoming something. And the woman who is focused on becoming is always more powerful than the woman who is focused on proving. So walk with confidence. Protect your peace. Trust your journey. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep evolving. And never forget, the moment you stop trying to prove your worth to the world is the moment the world starts recognizing your true power. People often make the mistake of judging strength by volume. They think power is found in the loudest voice, the most dramatic entrance, the person constantly announcing their achievements or demanding recognition. But some of the strongest women in the world move differently. They do not need to convince anyone of their value because they already understand it themselves. A woman who has nothing to prove is one of the most powerful forces you will ever encounter because her confidence is not dependent on attention, approval, or validation. She has reached a place where she no longer measures her worth through the opinions of others. She understands that real confidence is not built on applause. It is built on self-respect. She has learned lessons through experience, disappointment, failure, growth, sacrifice, and perseverance. She knows who she is, and because she knows who she is, she does not waste her time trying to prove it. While others spend their energy seeking acceptance, she invests her energy into building herself. While others are worried about being noticed, she is focused on becoming. While others are trying to impress people, she is creating a life that aligns with her purpose. That difference changes everything. A woman who has nothing to prove does not need to enter every argument. She does not need to respond to every criticism. She does not feel obligated to explain every decision. She understands that not everyone will understand her journey, and she has made peace with that reality. She knows that people often judge what they cannot see and criticize what they do not understand. Instead of allowing those opinions to distract her, she keeps moving forward. She understands that her mission is bigger than temporary approval. She understands that growth requires focus, and focus requires discipline. Every day she wakes up with a commitment to her goals, her vision, and her future. She knows that greatness is not built in a single moment. It is built through countless small decisions repeated over time. It is built through consistency when nobody is watching. It is built through sacrifice when nobody is applauding. It is built through faith when results have not appeared yet. This woman understands that success is not about proving people wrong. It is about proving herself right. It is about honoring her potential and refusing to settle for less than she is capable of becoming. There is something incredibly dangerous about a woman who no longer needs validation, because validation is often the chain that keeps people trapped. Many individuals spend their entire lives waiting for permission. They wait for someone to tell them they are talented enough, smart enough, beautiful enough, worthy enough, or capable enough. They wait for acceptance before taking action. They wait for confidence before pursuing their dreams. They wait for approval before becoming who they were meant to be. But a woman who has nothing to prove has broken free from that cycle. She understands that waiting for approval is a waste of time because the people whose approval she seeks may never give it. She understands that confidence is not something you receive from the world. Confidence is something you build through action. Every challenge she faces becomes evidence of her strength. Every obstacle she overcomes becomes proof of her resilience. Every setback becomes a lesson that prepares her for future victories. She does not need the world to believe in her because she has learned how to believe in herself. And once a woman learns that lesson, there is very little that can stop her. The world often underestimates women who move quietly. Society tends to pay attention to noise, but true power is often silent. Real strength does not always announce itself. Sometimes strength looks like discipline. Sometimes strength looks like patience. Sometimes strength looks like walking away from situations that no longer serve your growth. Sometimes strength looks like getting up every morning despite disappointment and continuing to pursue your purpose. A woman who has nothing to prove understands this deeply. She knows that her energy is valuable, and because her energy is valuable, she protects it. She does not waste her time trying to win every battle. She chooses her priorities carefully. She chooses where to invest her focus. She chooses growth over drama. She chooses peace over chaos. She chooses progress over distraction. This is why people often underestimate her. They mistake her calmness for weakness. They mistake her silence for insecurity. They mistake her patience for passivity. What they fail to realize is that beneath that calm exterior is a level of determination that cannot be shaken. Beneath that silence is a vision that cannot be distracted. Beneath that patience is a commitment that cannot be broken. She is not standing still because she lacks ambition. She is moving strategically. She is building carefully. She is preparing intentionally. And by the time people notice her progress, she is already far ahead. Another reason a woman with nothing to prove is so powerful is because she is no longer competing with other people. Competition consumes many lives. People compare their appearance, their careers, their relationships, their achievements, and their lifestyles. They spend countless hours measuring themselves against others. But comparison is a trap because there will always be someone who appears to have more. There will always be someone who seems further ahead. A woman who understands her worth escapes this trap. She realizes that her journey is unique. She realizes that her purpose cannot be compared to someone else's purpose. She realizes that success is personal. Instead of focusing on what others are doing, she focuses on her own growth. Her competition is not another woman. Her competition is the person she was yesterday. Every day she seeks improvement. Every day she seeks growth. Every day she seeks progress. She understands that greatness is not about being better than everyone else. Greatness is about becoming the best version of yourself. This mindset creates freedom. It removes unnecessary pressure. It allows her to celebrate the success of others without feeling threatened. It allows her to focus fully on her own mission. And because her attention is directed inward rather than outward, her growth accelerates. She becomes stronger, wiser, and more capable with each passing year. A woman who has nothing to prove also understands the importance of self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation upon which confidence is built. Without self-respect, confidence becomes fragile because it depends on external factors. But when confidence is rooted in self-respect, it becomes unshakable. This woman knows her value. She understands what she brings to the table. She understands the sacrifices she has made, the lessons she has learned, and the strength she has developed. Because of this understanding, she refuses to settle for relationships, opportunities, or environments that diminish her worth. She does not tolerate disrespect. She does not chase people who do not appreciate her. She does not shrink herself to make others comfortable. She does not apologize for her ambition. She does not hide her intelligence. She does not suppress her voice. She understands that honoring herself is not arrogance. It is necessity. She understands that every time she compromises her standards to gain approval, she loses a piece of herself. Therefore, she protects her standards. She protects her peace. She protects her vision. She understands that the quality of her life is determined by the quality of the boundaries she maintains. This level of self-respect commands respect from others, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. People recognize authenticity. People recognize conviction. People recognize strength. And there is something magnetic about a woman who stands firmly in her value without needing to announce it. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about a woman who has nothing to prove is her ability to remain focused on purpose. Purpose gives direction to life. Purpose provides motivation during difficult times. Purpose creates resilience when obstacles appear. A woman driven by purpose is difficult to distract because she understands where she is going. She understands why she started. She understands what is at stake. When criticism comes, she keeps moving. When setbacks occur, she keeps moving. When doubts arise, she keeps moving. Not because the journey is easy, but because the mission is important. She knows that every meaningful goal requires sacrifice. She knows that every dream requires effort. She knows that every achievement requires persistence. Therefore, she embraces the process. She understands that success is not an overnight event. Success is the result of years of dedication, discipline, and consistency. While others seek shortcuts, she commits to mastery. While others seek immediate gratification, she invests in long-term growth. While others become discouraged by temporary failures, she learns from them. This perspective allows her to continue advancing even when progress feels slow. She trusts the process. She trusts her work. She trusts her vision. She understands that every step forward matters. Every lesson matters. Every challenge matters. Every sacrifice matters, because all of it contributes to the person she is becoming. Never underestimate a woman who has reached a point where she no longer needs to prove herself. She is not driven by ego. She is driven by purpose. She is not motivated by recognition. She is motivated by growth. She is not chasing validation. She is building a legacy. Her confidence comes from experience. Her strength comes from perseverance. Her wisdom comes from overcoming adversity. Her peace comes from knowing who she is. She understands that true power is not found in convincing others of your value. True power is found in recognizing your value regardless of what others think. She understands that her worth is not determined by opinions, circumstances, or outcomes. Her worth is inherent. Her worth exists whether people recognize it or not. Because she understands this truth, she moves through life differently. She walks with confidence. She speaks with conviction. She acts with intention. She lives with purpose. And while many people may overlook her at first, they eventually recognize the impact of her presence. They eventually recognize the results of her discipline. They eventually recognize the strength of her character. Because in a world obsessed with proving, there is something extraordinary about a woman who simply focuses on becoming. And that woman, the woman who has nothing to prove, is often the one who changes everything.